do it. How do we change it? I believe we do that by delivering the message a little bit differently to the American people. By letting them know that the only way that they're going to realize the truth of the American dream is through hard work, through personal responsibility. That they're the ones that are going to have to lift themselves up by their bootstraps. And the best thing that we can offer to them is opportunity. Hardworking Americans do not need charity, they need opportunity. They need people to step out of the way and let them go for what they need.
So how do you solve this debt issue? How would you approach it? It is a monster.
It is a monster.
And no good way out of it. But
it's going to be hard.
Have to deal with it somehow. So
remember what I said about running? It's difficult, but it'll be worth it. It's hard. It's going to be difficult. So we have to put entitlements on the table. We've got to, now let me be very careful. Let me be very clear. We are not going to pull the rug out from under those who are on Social Security today. We're not going to do that. They paid into Social Security. They're going to, they have to be, they don't have the choice to go back. But there are things that we can do. We can adjust the bend points. We can increase the age of retirement. We can, instead of taking the 35 highest wages, we'll take the 40 highest wages, 40 years at the highest wages. We can decrease the COLA, the cost of living increase. Again, it doesn't affect anybody that's on it today. And the left they want to pretty much eliminate the cap, is what they want to do. I'm not okay with that because I believe that that's another tax.
Just an increased tax.
Yeah. So what I would prefer.
Eliminate the cap on.
So if you make over anything, you make over $106,000 doesn't get taxed right now. Yeah. And I'm not okay with that.
Doesn't get Social Security tax.
Right. Doesn't get Social Security tax. Right. So what I would prefer to see instead of that is maybe a means tested program where if somebody makes over $200,000, they may not collect 100% of their Social Security. I'd rather see that than the other way around. But we've got to do something to get out of the $6.5 trillion hole that Social Security is in.
What about privatization or allowing some
Eventually,
of that money to go? I mean, I'm 60,
Mm-hmm.
so I'm not that far away from
Mm-hmm.
retirement. I might be 15 years away the way
Mm-hmm.
things are going, but at least from the standard age of retirement for most people around 65.
Mm-hmm.
I would love to be able to, I would be willing to opt out of the program if I could take all the money.
Today you would be willing to?
Today.
Yes.
If I could get all that money and everything my employer puts in my behalf
Mm-hmm.
and have control of it. Now, I know that's not going to happen. They're not going to give it all to me. But you know, Bush had a program to take a portion of that and
Mm-hmm.
allow people to use it if they wanted.
Mm-hmm.
And I like the idea of a choice. You know, those that are closer to it.
Remember agency.
If you say, all right, you know, you can either lend this out, take less and get less back, but you have your money, you know, as long as you're working to invest. I'd love to see something like that. And those that are relying on it, I mean, are retired or really close to retirement, you've got to look out for them. They've paid a ton of money,
Mm-hmm.
as I have over my life. But what are your thoughts on that? I mean,
My thoughts are, I would love to see my children be able to put their money into a retirement of their own choosing. I would love to see us phase into something like that, where they can choose where to put their money into retirement. You see, Social Security was something that we're all forced to pay into. We have no choice. And again, I will always choose independence over dependence. So I would love to see my children be able to do that. Again, it's a $6.5 trillion hole, big mess that we're going to have to deal with. It's going to be difficult, but we're going to have to deal with it.
I thought Social Security was still solid. I thought it was.
It's running in the deficit.
it's already deficit.
It's in a deficit.
I didn't realize that.
Mm-hmm.
That black box, they were supposed to put it in and lock it up over all these years.
It was actually open
It
with
had
a lot of air,
holes
just kind
in the bottom.
of.
They spent it on social programs.
Well, I thought that the somewhere invested in things. I didn't realize that the people currently paying were paying the benefits to the ones who are currently on, not the money
Oh,
that they
yeah,
provide.
it's running in
So
a
that was
deficit.
big
It's
surprise to me.
actually more is being paid out than is going in.
Yeah.
But we're in trouble.
And Obamacare hasn't even really hit yet. Financial effects of it haven't.
You know, we live in a day and age where now government can mandate, can tell a private sector what they put in their insurance plans.
Well, it'll be interesting to see how the Supreme Court handles that.
I don't
Keep-
put much hope there,
Yeah.
but maybe.
I mean, one of the best things that we can do is really, I mean, for Obamacare, really getting a new precedent would
Yeah.
be very helpful.
Well, that's the only way it would get repealed, maybe if then.
It's,
Yeah.
yeah.
Why, this is changing the subject a little bit, but I understand that you have your own police force in Saratoga Springs now. Well, why didn't you do that? Does it cost the expense involved with that instead of just sticking with the sheriff's office?
We actually get more services from our own police department. Remember I said,
Well, I'm
when
sure
it
you
comes
get
to.
more, but it costs more.
It doesn't actually, no. The original contract that we had with the police department wasn't what we ended up actually paying. The sheriff's department would come to us and they had all this overtime, all of these other things. We had no cost control. We actually are able to do a lot more. We still have to pay so if you add all of the things that we had to add, for instance, they never did animal control, they never did any of the school programs. So if you add all of the costs to what we were paying and what the sheriff's county did not do, and what we were paying is actually cost more now. So if you combine all the police services that we have, it costs more now. It costs more then than it does now. We're actually paying less than we did with all of the police department and the programs that go under the police department.
So you didn't raise taxes in order to get the police department set up in your community? in Saratoga Springs?
No. As a matter of fact, like I said, we set one for the first time, and it pays for just public safety. But if you look at what Eagle Mountain pays now and what we pay, and the things that are under the police department, the umbrella that we have, as opposed to what's under the police department umbrella there, the cost is less. Because they still have to do code enforcement, they still have to do animal control, they still have to do all of those things, right? Those costs are.
Yeah, I'm not sure who does that. Who does animal control?
In Eagle Mountain?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Doesn't happen,
Yeah, it does.
honestly.
No,
Somebody
it
does,
does.
somebody
They're
does,
very
somebody
good at
has to
that.
pay for it, they have to.
But
Because we have a neighbor who lets her animals run wild, and whenever we call them, they're right there.
But you have to understand, again, it's the difference between being independent and being dependent. We have complete cost control. So that when we do a budget, our residents, we can sit there and say, these are the line items. This is what the binoculars cost. We didn't have that choice then. We didn't have that choice. I can look and say, what do we need these binoculars for? How is that going to help keep our residents safe? If you can't give me a good explanation, you're not getting them. We did not have that control. And we had no control over who was coming in, who was leaving. I mean, they were changing people in and out all the time. And we really wanted community policing. So,
And you said that is actually costing less than when you had contract with the
with
sheriff's
all of the,
department?
yes. And now, even now, we're contracting with Bluffdale. So it does cost even less, because now we're providing
You're
public
providing
safety.
for Buffdale.
Yeah, it actually costs less.
Now, I've been told that you missed a lot of council meetings.
Wow, really?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, no, that's not true.
You didn't miss council meetings?
There were a few that you can't make every single one on the council. There were a few when I had a baby, yeah.
What would you say was your percent attendance?
At the
I know you can't know.
lowest,
Yeah.
I know, 88%,
80%.
yes,
Okay, thank you.
yes, sir.
Now, I noticed on your website, under issues, I looked at all the candidates and looked at the issues part, and you have just very short blurbs without any real, substance. I mean, it's all what we like to hear, but there's really nothing there about what you would do, whereas.
Well, we
and
have some papers that we're putting in right now. I have
Okay.
position papers on all of them, and we're implementing all of
Okay.
them into the
Okay.
website. So we just put on the calendar so that people can know what we're doing and what. So it's a process that we're going in. We're putting in all those position papers in there. But we have all of those views and all of those things. So
Okay, that would be good to see.
Mhm.
As I say, those short ones all sound good, but,
Mhm.
they don't really say anything except all the wonderful things, the whole time.
So how do you feel about bailouts? Federal bailouts of
The programs that are too big to fail,
the General Motors, AIG?
government shouldn't be picking winners and losers. We should not be picking winners and losers. Remember I said in that video that what's great about this country is that you're free to take risks, free to reap the benefits, and free to fail. And our failures sometimes make us better.
The argument is, that they give, is that, if we didn't bail all these entities out, that it would be disastrous to our country, and, we'd go through economic crash and all these things. And I just wonder your feelings on that, and how would you counter that argument?
I don't buy it. I don't buy that at all. I mean, the further we move to a free market environment, and those things, we've forgotten who dictates the supply and demand. We've forgotten who sets the supply and demand, and that's the consumer. So something that's too big to fail, if the consumer needs it and continues to purchase it, it's not going to fail. It's, again, when government picks winners and losers, that's when we have a hard time. Let's look at Solyndra, for instance, right? We chose Solyndra, paid Solyndra $500 million. I would say that we actually took solar energy and pushed it backwards. That's what I would say, because when we chose to help Solyndra out, we put a lot of small businesses that were working in the solar energy back, and then they failed. I'm not okay with that.
So you're okay letting them, crash if they do, go out of business, particularly the Federal Reserve? That's the whole TARP issue, and
Yes, I am.
good.
It's
'cause I
harsh,
feel
but
the
people
same
have
way,
to,
but-
people have to be able to take risks.
But, not many in Washington are willing to take that position because, for whatever reason, talk about that all day. But in the end, they end up voting to bail them out. We bailed out the feds 4 different times. They keep making the same mistakes over, and we keep taking tax money and bailing them out. And I'm tired of bailing them out,
Yeah.
personally.
Now, you're talking about Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, aren't you, not the Federal Reserve?
I'm talking about TARP, which is,
Oh, yeah.
which
well,
is
that's-
the,
Right.
Yeah, okay.
it's all one entity truthfully, but the 12 Federal Reserve banks, they had to be bailed out because they've made loans that were bad loans. Every other bank has to deal with bad loans.
When people ask me, what do you do about the Fed? How do you do? You audit the Fed. You audit the Fed, full audit of the Fed.
They've tried and tried, they can never get it through Congress, though.
Well, that's what we have to
We
do.
got a
We've got to
partial
send
one.
people, we've
Ron-
got to send people to
Ron
Washington.
Paul finally got a partial audit of the feds.
What we've got to do is we've got to send people to Washington with enough guts that really are able to not worry about their PR, not worry